Hello, welcome to the EPG Pathshala program in linguistics. I am Professor Raminder Gargesh from the Department of Linguistics, University of Delhi. Today we will discuss linguistic stylistics. The 12th module under linguistic stylistics is on narrative discourse and introduction. So in this module, we will look at definition of a narrative and narratology, fictiveness in narration, narratives as communication, and some aspects of the theory of narratives and narratology. And we will look at theorization of Vladimir Propp. The main objective of this module is to give you an idea about what constitutes a narrative. The narrative will be defined and its area of study delineated. Now, we are shifting to narratives because so far we have been dealing with poetic analysis in the last modules. We are shifting to narratives. We have used some elements of narratives when we describe the metaphor, but here we are looking at narratives in a more as a form. All narratives are events in communication, and literary narratives such as the novel are fictive in nature. First, the element of fictiveness will also be discussed, and then the discussion will follow about its structure. This module will give you a perspective on the study of narrative, discourse of the novel. This module is not complete by itself. There will be other modules coming after this. It will lead to the taking of a particular novel and then analyzing it at various levels posited. Just like we took the poem Rhapsody on a Windy Night in the previous module and tried to analyze it in the light of what had been discussed earlier. Now, narrative discourse is a complex discourse. In linguistic analysis, usually sentence is considered to be the largest segment of analysis. But language does not occur in stray words or sentences. It exists in connected discourse. Zelig-Harris. It is the connected discourse that forms the text. And the discourse or text is formed by expressions or sentences in a logical sequence. That is, they must have cohesion. Halliday and Hassan talked about cohesion, but more importantly, they must have coherence. If they don't have coherence, even cohesion is useless. There are broadly three types of discourses we know broadly. We have the poetic discourse, the dramatic discourse, and the narrative discourse. And the present module is on narrative discourse, and the narrative discourse is constituted by a succession of narrative fictional events through the medium of language, as opposed to other forms. In order to look at the text as a narrative discourse, we must know what is structure like and what is the nature of the narrative discourse. A narrative can be seen in terms of wide-ranging subgenres, and it is closely associated with the act of narrating. A narrative involves a narration by an addresser to an addressee, and it has been defined differently by different scholars. Chapman, he says that narrative is a structure which is made of narrative statements. Rimon Canan says narrative fiction is the narration of a succession of fictional events. Prince considers it the recounting of one or more real or fictitious events communicated by one, two, or several or more narrators to one, two, or several or more or less overt narratees. And Jahn defines it as anything that tells or presents a story, be it by text, picture, or performance, or a combination of these. So novels, plays, comic strips, etc. are narratives. All these are narratives. Fludelnik, another scholar, defines narrative as representation of a possible world in a linguistic and or visual medium, at whose center there are one or several protagonists of an anthropomorphic nature, who are existentially anchored in a temporal and spatial sense, and who perform goal-directed actions. It is the experience of these protagonists that narratives focus on, allowing readers to immerse themselves in a different world and in the life of the protagonist. In verbal narratives of a traditional caste, the narrator functions as the mediator in the verbal medium of representations. Scholars by and large consider narrative in literature as a sequence of fictive events. In this module, the novel as a form of narrative is viewed as a sequence of fictive units in a fictively conceptualized time and space that has an effect on the reader. So this module will provide an overview of the developments in the field of the study. Though it will begin the theoretical part, that will not be completed now, it will be carried on into the next module. So let's come to the concept of narratology, narrative and narratology. The term narrative refers to anything that involves the act of narration. That is, whenever someone tells someone about something, it involves the act of narration. Narrating is a widespread and often unconscious spoken language activity which can be seen to include a number of different text types: journalism, teaching, anything. In addition to what we think of a prototypical kind of a narrative, namely literary narrative as an art form. We may say that thoughts, feelings, emotions and observations are communicated to someone, a narrative automatically gets formed. So whenever you tell your feelings to somebody, narrative is formed. Thus we are all narrators most of the time in our daily life whenever we communicate with each other. Some of the narrative forms mentioned by Roland Barthes are myth, legend, fable, tale, novella, epic, history, tragedy, drama, comedy, mime, painting, stained glass windows, cinema, comics, conversations, and so on. Novel as a narrative genre is different from a short story and a narrative poem. In fact, all three have narrative, but they are different in their forms. Poem as a narrative has different forms than the novel, and short story, anyway, the poems have narrative as well as meter and rhyme, but short story is closer to the narrative of the novel, but these two are very distinct from each other because of their narrative structure. A short story has only a single facet or profile or narrative event, but in the case of novel, there are a series of narrative events which together become narrative episodes, culminating together into the text. Narratives can be divided into two types: fictional and non-fictional. A fictional narrative presents an imaginary narrator's account of a story that happened in an imaginary world, although fictional narrative may feel freely refer to the actual people, places also. It can't be used as evidence of what happened in the real world, that is fictive world. In fictional narratives, everything, the story, the events, the characters are the product of the narrator's imagination and is analogous to the real world. It is analogous, it is not the real world. Whereas non-fictional narrative is not outcome of narrator's imagination, but is based on real life. Scholars have studied different types of narratives, such as narratives of personal experiences, teachers' narratives, children's narratives, doctors' narratives, family narratives, and so on. All these narratives are non-fictional narratives with their larger context wide open in the society in which they occur. Needless to say that there are numerous forms of narratives. However, in the present module, we will take into account only the literary form, known as the novel, since it is fictional narrative with complete inbuilt context. Now, what is this fictiveness? Fictiveness in literary works make them different from non-literary works. Smith has made a distinction between natural and fictive based on the notion of nature versus art dichotomy. In her view, fictiveness is the representation of non-existent things or words. That is, they lack the ground of historicity of natural discourse. By historicity is meant that natural utterances have historicity because they occur in real life, whereas fictive utterances are the part of poems, drama, short story, which may or may not have occurred in a historical context or in reality. Fictiveness is not falsehood, but a creative phenomena which is analogous to life. It is this fictiveness that makes the world of art. The main features of fictiveness can be said to be the following. Speakers are not really saying what they say in fictive discourse. Fictive discourse is speakerless, non-referential and ahistorical. Fictive discourse creates its own context in which its meanings are located. Fictive discourse is known as ahistorical and autonomous because it creates its own context for the generation of meaning. Ahistoricity refers to an idea or an event or happening that doesn't occur in reality, and the place, characters of the story, though they may have been taken from real life, are recreated by the authors in the new created context in the fictive world. The context of fictive discourse can be found in the language of the fictive work itself. In order to create context of situation, an author uses deixis, personal pronouns, time adverbials, place adverbials. In a fictive work, context of utterance exists in the text itself, as opposed to the context of natural utterances which exist in society. These contexts are created through a decontextualization of facts of life. We can take one example, Robert Browning's poem The Last Duchess. Of course, it's a narrative poem. We take a small example for a narrative, how it is fictive. The narrative is in the form of a monologue in this poem uttered by a fictional duke. The duke introduces his late wife to a visitor and reveals that he himself had killed his wife, and he expresses pride in doing so. The lines, "She thanked men, good, but thanked somehow I know not how, as if she ranked my gift of a 900 years old name with anybody's gift." This is Last Duchess, page lines 31 to 34. So here it is not clear. If one doesn't know the context, one does not know who is speaking to whom and about which woman, if we just take these 4 lines out of context. But it is through the context of the poem that we come to know that the speaker is a duke. The woman referred to was his late wife. The addressee is a messenger who has come with another marriage proposal for the duke. The duke is also conveying the message that his new wife will do nothing to mar his family importance. It is also clear from the above that fictiveness in literary works is a feature of literary narratives. All narratives are occurrences in communication. Narrative as communication. Narrative is an essential part of communication. Now, narrative can be viewed in the following way. Narrative communication is quite complex. There is an author and there is a corresponding reader. We have the real author and the real reader. The real author writes the text and we, the real readers, read the text. Within the text, there may be an implied author. And when the implied author speaks to someone, that someone will be the implied reader. And also within the text, there can be characters talking to characters. There can be a narrator speaking to another narrative. So different levels of narration within a text. So addresser, addressee, all these terms. Addresser, addressee, implied author, implied reader, all these are levels, they are related to each other. There are different levels of narrating events in a novel. Now coming to the theory of narratology, narrative theory, or what is now called narratology, is the study of narrative. It can be traced back to Aristotle, who in the Poetics talks about art as imitation of reality through medium, object and mode, where the medium stands for imitation through language in terms of sound, music, etc., and object for people in action, and mode refers to the narration or acting. Since action was central to Aristotelian Poetics, it implies that all action is like a sequence of events and hence is a narrative in the larger sense. However, narrative theory or narratology as a specific way of understanding narrative was theorized, among others, mainly by the Russian formalists and the French structuralists. So finally, we come to the theory of narrative, narratology, and in this module we will only restrict ourselves to the theorization by Vladimir Propp. Narratology from its early days has been studied from a variety of perspectives. Hence it is multidisciplinary in nature. If we look at the theories of narratives provided by a variety of narratologists, narrative theories can be divided into 2 main groups. The first group views narrative as structure and doesn't take discourse into account. The second group studies narrative as structure and discourse. And for the time being, we are restricting ourselves to the theory of Vladimir Propp, who looks at it more in terms of structure. Propp was the first scholar who had come up with the idea of narrative as a linear sequence of events. He, like other subsequent narratologists, was highly influenced by Saussure's structuralism, and he viewed narrative structure in terms of syntagmatic and paradigmatic relations. The syntagmatic dimension refers to a linear sequence of narrative events, whereas the pragmatic perspective refers to the vertical choice of constituents of narrative events made by an author. The syntagmatic dimension deals with the constituent units of a narrative and with their sequencing in the text. The paradigmatic dimension views the constituents of narratives that may function as alternate choices. His work, titled The Morphology of Folktale, had appeared in 1928. It was translated and published in English in 1968. In The Morphology of Folktales, Propp had analyzed 100 Russian folktales and had focused on their underlying commonalities. For him, the folktales or narratives are fundamentally syntagmatic in mode. The unifying factor, according to him, are not the characters, but the functions that the characters perform in a narrative. According to him, the number of functions is extremely small, whereas the number of personages or characters is extremely large. He divided his stories into smallest analyzable chunks of narrative units, which he called narratemes. He identified 31 functions or narratemes that comprised the structure of the Russian folktales. The 31 functions were distributed among 7 spheres of action, corresponding to their respective performers, which he identified as the villain, the donor or the provider, the helper, the princess sought after person, her father, the dispatcher, the hero, and the false hero. His analysis led him to conclude that all fairy tales are structurally homogeneous, and they reveal the following. 1. Functions of the characters serve as stable, constant elements in a tale, regardless of how and by whom they are fulfilled. 2. The number of functions known to the fairy tale is limited. 3. The sequence of functions is always identical. 4. All fairy tales are of one type in regard to their structure. Propp's model had categorized characters according to actions, which are limited in folktales. However, in more complex narratives, a character may perform more than one role. For example, Magwitch in Dickens' Great Expectations plays the role of a villain and later on turns into a helper or donor. Hence, Propp's model of analysis of literary text, though valid, but has limitations, not fully valid. And this was further developed by different theoreticians in narratology. To summarize, the present module was in the form of an introduction to what is narrative. The term narrative has been defined within the paradigm of communication, and its fictive nature has been highlighted. The contribution of Vladimir Propp has been discussed, and the discussion based on Vladimir Propp will be carried forward further. In addition to this, we have also seen the text narrative as being seen as a sequence of events, and also there can be different levels of narrators and narratees.